Well, thanks for having us. I think Commissioner Fletcher was gonna take it first. Go ahead.
Age
Put
before
your
beauty,
stuff.
is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
I think
That's just for the online.
Oh, yeah.
I think you
that's
still need
for
to speak in
online,
this
so
one.
use this.
There you go.
I'm sorry. I forgot your microphones. Oh, you have 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay.
Well, good afternoon, fellow Republicans. I'm JJ Fletcher, Mesa County Commissioner for District 3. I'm also the president of Hope and Horses in Palisade. And as I was putting together my presentation today, I was thinking about the impacts of the last few days. And as a county commissioner and as somewhat involved in the community, I've had discussions with our veteran community because we see we can impact, as a county commissioner, we also impact globally because people here in Mesa County are being deployed and they're headed overseas. But what I'm going to talk to you about today is when some of the veterans come back and the services that we have to offer when they come back. I had a conversation on Friday with a couple of veterans and who had gone out on equestrian rides with me on trail rides. And I noticed that one of the veterans on his Facebook page, there were some warning signs of suicide. And every day we lose 22 veterans to suicide. So this is why this is important and impactful. So I reached out to him and I asked him, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm okay." And this gentleman was in BUDS training, so he had prepared to become a Navy SEAL. And he rang the bell and he tapped out and went on his way as a Navy man. My dad was in the Navy, so I'm wearing a Navy hat today. I had a conversation with another veteran here in Mesa County. He had gone through BUDS training as well. And he had tapped out and rang out. And so the conversation with him was, "Hey, are you doing okay?" He said, "I'm doing okay. I want to, go on a trail ride with you as well." So I've got that connection with our veteran community. And so then I started reflecting on what happened over the weekend. And we're talking about Navy SEALs. And this rescue mission that happened over the weekend, our special forces went in, but in particular, from the way it was reported, SEAL Team 6 went in. And if you look back to Iran 40 years ago, the mission to rescue hostages at that time failed. So over the last 40 years, our special forces have come a long way. But through the grace of God, they were able to go in and bring back this pilot that was shot down behind enemy lines. And one of the things that he said, the pilot, to let the CIA know and the military know that he was okay, he said, "God is good." And they immediately thought, this is somebody, a Muslim, they're just trying to fool us with their techniques. But they weren't fooling. He wasn't fooling. He had divine grace at that point. And, you look at it, special forces, and I know some of this room actually served in special forces. To go in with so many hundreds of people, men and women, and have no casualties, except the pilot had some injuries, I'm sure some others had some injuries. That's an amazing accomplishment. That's from Almighty God. And, I know when we talked about, Bobbie asked me to talk about economic development, but our military community, Mesa County, is a hub for our veterans because they come back home. We have disabled veterans, we have those veterans that are retired, they're looking for a place to call home. So there's a lot of services that are offered to our veterans in our community. We have a group, Blue Star Moms, that's here to serve our community when people are deployed and you're looking for somebody to converse with and have that conversation about, I'm a little bit afraid, my son and daughter, they're overseas. And, how can I be supported? And for me, as a county commissioner, it's also vitally important to make sure that I can connect with our veterans. If they need to call and reach out to somebody, I'm here. When we have people that are identifying with suicide ideations, I've been trained, I've taken training to walk through and help them and make sure that they, come out of that crisis. But again, like you said, our veteran community provides with their VA hospital and the services we have here. And Mesa County has a resource person also for our veterans. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. So there's a lot of components when we look at, what's been happening over the last 40 years in oil and gas. And we go back to Black Sunday on May 2nd, 1982. Mesa County was ground zero for oil shale and oil development. And then we had the boom and bust, oil shale left. But there were a lot of people in Mesa County that had the vision on what can we do to stabilize the Mesa County economy. So some of those components, we as commissioners, we support an organization called the Business Incubator. And that's located right out here at the Department of Energy. And the Business Incubator together today, right now, we're celebrating 40 years of service to our community. They've helped 33% of Mesa County businesses. They've created 14,000 jobs, which equates to $201 million. Between all of the economic development, it's an increase of $676 million. So the Business Incubator Center supports the launch, growth, and stabilization and long-term success of businesses in Mesa County and the surrounding region. Some of their pillars, they have grants and incentives, business funding and loans, business development, innovation labs, space tools, and Agri-West. Some of the companies that have started up through the Business Incubator have been Palatine, High-Five Robotics, eBricks, just to name a few. We also have GJAP, the Grand Junction Economic Partnership, which we all support as well. Their mission is to support and build new businesses through tax incentives. I just, 10 days ago, I met with a guy, Tanner, who owns Old World Beef. He's a military veteran as well. He's looking to expand his business. I got him together with Curtis Englehart with GJAP. We're working on a business plan for him. He's looking to build a meat packing plant. We don't have a USDA meat packing plant in Mesa County currently. So why is this vitally important? We all like to eat beef, right? But it'll also provide jobs. Another component of economic development here at Mesa County is the Workforce Center. It's a one-stop shop designed to efficiently serve the needs of the businesses and job seekers in an effort to promote economic development, vitality. Our no-cost services, which include assessments, workshops, recruitment assistance, business services, and much more, are here to propel our community into the future with education, training, and resources. I wanted to let you know that the current unemployment rate in Mesa County is 3.70. We have a labor force of around 79,000. I know we talked at the beginning a little bit about behavioral health. All of the county commissioners support behavioral health, but it's also a component of economic development. A healthy workforce is the foundation of economic development. Untreated mental health issues and substance use lead to absenteeism, lower productivity, and higher turnover. Businesses are more likely to expand and locate where they can find and rely on a stable, functioning workforce. An example is the arrival of Ava Health, and this is expected to create dozens of well-paying jobs and build a local talent pipeline with CMU. Potential employers look for quality of life infrastructure, which includes mental health care. Behavioral health systems directly affect government spending and economic efficiency. Mesa County programs aim to divert people from jails and ERs, reduce incarceration and recidivism, and to prevent homelessness. So I'm sure I probably used up a lot of my time, so I'll hand it over.
You did great, thank you.
Thank you, JJ.
Oh, wait, hold on.
First of all, thank you for being here. I love this group. You guys are faithful and you're engaged. And as commissioners, we couldn't appreciate something more. And apologize for being a little hoarse today. I've been trying to get over the same cough for the last 4 weeks. So I'm hoarse and I got a bit of a tickle. So I apologize if I have to cough today, but it's also a good reason for me to be as brief as I can. I thought it'd be interesting to kind of pull back the curtain and because we get to deal in budgets, Mesa County's budget every single day. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of pull back the curtain and look into our current budget this year. We're already in 2027 budgeting season. I think we're in budgeting season all year long with a $273 million budget, 1,200 employees. You can imagine building a budget takes almost the entire year. And we have a single employee that is dedicated the entire year to just building our budget and making our priorities a reality. So I want to ask you guys a question. What do you guys think Mesa County's largest form of revenue is? Just yell it out if you know it. I heard property tax, which is not our largest form of revenue. Any other guesses? I heard a lot, but I didn't hear it.
Government.
What do you mean by government?
City, county.
Sales tax is not. Our largest form of revenue is actually grants coming from the feds and the state. So people don't realize how much money we get from the state and federal government, which is, on one hand, interesting and nice. On the other hand, when you get doged, if you will, it puts the pinch on us. And the state is short a lot of revenue this year because Polis and Trump are in a bit of a tussle. So a lot of federal funding is not flowing through the state. So you can imagine where that burden hits hardest, and that's local. So our second highest form of revenue is sales and use tax, and then property tax. And then, of course, a bunch of other miscellaneous. We have fees that we charge for, like the building department or the landfill. But so our total budget this year for expenditures is $273 million. And you can imagine with 1,200 employees, our biggest expenditures is employees. I'm sure the school district is much the same. We've only got 1,200. They've got, I think, 3,000 employees. So personnel is the largest form in our budget. This year, and Bobbie's going to talk a little bit about unfunded mandates, but with the state government is short revenue, which, as you know, they're about $700 million short this year. What they start cutting first is funding to local governments. And so instead of funding a mandate that they passed, they just kind of unfund that mandate and push it to the local governments, which forces us, under a mandate, to find funding for that. And so this year, we've been forced into rethinking how we budget. So this year, we're going to start, for 2027, what's called priority-based budgeting. So basically, it says, what is our largest priority? And how we define that priority is important, and it's something that we're going to be working heavily on this year. But if you think about it in a matrix, excuse me, excuse me. But if you think about it in a matrix of impact versus cost, what we want to get rid of is those things that have low impact but high cost. So these things down here in this quadrant that cost us a lot of money but have almost zero impact, unless it's a mandate. And Bobbie will talk about mandates here in a little bit. Unless it's a mandate and we have to do it, we're going to start getting that low-hanging fruit. If it's costing us a lot of money and it's having very low impact in our community, it may be a sacred cow, and that's where this gets hard, because a lot of these programs are sacred cows. And so we're going to get a lot of people screaming, but we're going to start plucking those off. Now, if it's low cost and high impact, that's what we want. That's what we want our programs to have. And then, of course, there's the programs that are high impact, high cost. And that's where the conversation gets really difficult, because those dollars are having a lot of impact, but they're costing us a lot of money. So we don't want to be a government that just continues to grow without reason, without thought. And so priority-based budgeting sounds good, but it's actually a really difficult process to go through, because, again, you're taking a lot of sacred cows and you're throwing them out the door and saying, this isn't the role of government. We shouldn't be in this. I think Ronald Reagan said it best.
Do you have any examples of these low impact, high cost programs?
Yeah, absolutely. So low cost, high impact would be, for example, for me, would be the landfill. Landfill doesn't cost us hardly any money to operate, because we collect fees for it. But did you know if you didn't have a place to dispose of your trash, you wouldn't be able to live here, you wouldn't be able to run a business? So it's one of those components that you absolutely have to have in a community that's absolutely has to be there. I apologize. The tickle's getting worse.
How about examples of high cost, low impact that you're looking at deleting?
So this year, we're being forced, it's a mandate. I could really get in the weeds here, but with the WUI code, the Wildland Urban Interface Fire Code that got forced on us this year, basically forces those who are in the WUI area. So if you're close enough to a forest, you are considered in the WUI. Thank you. You're considered to be in the WUI, and it's going to force you to do more things to your house. You're going to have to create defensible space in between your house and the forest. Anyways, it's going to cost, and most of the Redlands is in the WUI. There's a swath right through the Grand Valley that's in the WUI. And so, now I understand what they're trying to do. This is really just a safety measure. Like, they want people to be able to get out of their houses and out of their subdivisions before more houses catch on fire. But it doesn't stop wildfires. Let's be honest, this does zero to slow down wildfires. And I think this should be a conversation between a person and their insurance company as well. If an insurance company is willing to insure me, I shouldn't have to do all these extra things. Now, if they want me to create defensible space, that's a conversation I can have between me and them, or I can go to another insurance company. This is the government getting into business they should never be in. It's costing a lot of money, but it's yielding very little. It's going to yield very little results. But that's a mandate, and so we have to make that decision as to whether we, excuse me, whether we implement it or not. But and I didn't give an exhaustive list, but happy to talk more about high risk, not high risk, but high and low cost versus impact. And that's that priority budgeting that we're going to be going through this year. And I'll end with this. Legislation. Nina's looking to go to the House this next year, and it's from January to May, and it is non-stop. And we are constantly reading bills, surveying bills, how are they going to affect our constituents, how are they going to affect the county, and it's non-stop. And it's nice when people take positions on bills, because then legislators know how to vote. But Mesa County, I was talking to a legislator last week, and they are very appreciative of what your commissioners do on a weekly basis, and that is we lobby against bad bills. And if there's some good bills, we'll lobby for them, but we lobby against it. So we're not just taking positions, but we actively have people in the Capitol who are on a daily basis lobbying for or against bills. And I had this legislator say, one of the most effective lobbyists on the Western Slope, the entire Western Slope, is Mesa County itself, because they're always in the building. Everybody always wants to know where Mesa County stands, because we do. When we don't always throw our weight around, but when we need to, we can get loud and we can throw our weight around. And we do, because it's important that the state legislature understand just because Mesa County is on the Western Slope doesn't mean they're invisible, or doesn't mean those impacts don't make their way over here. So we're loud, at times we're obnoxious. We even had a state legislator in Colorado, or in the Douglas area. He wrote a letter to the editor in Grand Junction because he was so frustrated with the position that some of the Mesa County commissioners and legislators on the Western Slope made on a bill of theirs. He took the time to write the Daily Sentinel a letter because he was so mad with how we were lobbying against his bill, nonetheless. So when we need to be, we're the 700-pound gorilla in the room, and we're not afraid to throw our weight around on legislation. And I know a lot of you guys don't see that, but we're doing that actively every day, every week. It's exhausting. It's probably why I have a cough, because I'm sitting there reading bills. I'll tell you what, AI is wonderful. So instead of reading a 700-page bill, I can throw it to AI and say, give me the highlights, when I can't read a 700-page bill. So I guarantee you, those legislators are not reading every word of every bill. I dare say there's probably not a single legislator who's read an entire bill that they've passed. But nonetheless, we're putting in the hard work. We're working for you guys. If you guys ever have any feedback for us, that is invaluable. Sometimes the decisions we make, we don't even understand the impacts until we get feedback. And if there's no feedback, no news is good news, right? That's not always the case, but we value your feedback, questions, comments. So thank you for having us today, and I'm gonna go cough.
I just wanted to say Cody is being very humble the amount of work that he puts in. He's our representative to the legislature, and he puts in nonstop hours when they're in session. And then also, when they're not in session, they're still working. They're working on their next bill. And then there's rulemaking. And so all the state agencies go into rulemaking, which people really don't have a lot of connection to that rulemaking. But we're constantly involved in that, making comments, trying to buff out a lot of bad things. And I'll tell you what, rulemaking has been one of the most detrimental ways that not only the state budget has grown, but our pressure on local government as well. For an example, Rule 31 was made by a state agency. They're trying to minimize methane from a landfill, which really frankly is like less than 1% of all emissions in Colorado. But in all of their infinite wisdom, they said, okay, all of these rural landfills, they need to do more than what the federal government is saying. We already comply with federal government on flaring our methane. We put millions of dollars into that infrastructure and that investment. And so our wise state agency said, no, you have to do more. And the more is gonna cost you $9 million, Mesa County. And on top of that, it'll be $1 million every year. I mean, our landfill would not exist. And so, of course, that's when Mesa County plays ball, and we play hardball. And we were very successful in making it a lot less worse. You know, it's just so frustrating. So these wins aren't always visible, but if we can make it a little bit better, that is definitely a win, especially in the climate that we're in. And I just want you guys to know, Cody does go to bat for Mesa County in more ways than one, and we really appreciate that. And then Commissioner Fletcher, he just has a heart for service and a heart for those veterans, and he's really out and about. His kids are grown, so that's what he does with his free time. Cody and I are running our kids to events, being the taxi of teenagers, but
There you go.
yes. So I just want to give a shout out to them. I see things that are behind the scenes, and I know that you guys don't always get to see what that's like, but these guys really do put in a lot of hard work for Mesa County. We really appreciate that. I can cover a lot of things, but we do have this little handout, and to me, the way my brain works, I want to make sure infrastructure is really strong, and that means more ways than one. So it's just not roads, but how do our citizens connect with our Mesa County government? And it's really important that you have access and that you feel like you're a part of it. And I never want our local government to feel like Washington, D.C., where it's so far removed. For me, we the people really mean something. And I want to make sure that we're not ruling over you. It's a partnership. You tell us how you want us to govern, and I think that's really important. That's why we do the sunshine list. And so all of our agendas, everything that we publish, all the meetings will go out to a sunshine list every week along of our other posting and stuff. So if you want to sign up for the sunshine list, you can get on there. We started doing newsletters, which is really fantastic. If you haven't signed up for a newsletter, I think that's just really helpful when it's just delivered right into your inbox and you just can get a highlight of our week, and I think that's really important. We do have a free 8-week residence class. It's called the Inside the Mesa County class. It's practically full every single time we do this, but it really gives a good inside look into local government. All of our county departments, you get to have tours, you get to go to tour of the landfill, the jail, you get to have important conversations, not only with elected officials, but our department heads. And I think everybody that I've talked to that has taken this Inside the Mesa County class, I've taken it, Cody's taken a bunch of times, Greg's taken a bunch of times. It's just so important. And then that kind of leads into our volunteer boards and commissions. And so it's not just us three making decisions about Mesa County. This is a community event, and we have a library board, we have a planning commission, we have a few folks here that serve. This is a very important part of Mesa County and our local government. So there's always different openings that come aboard. And if you can't do it, you can at least share with folks that you think would be great on that board. And just sharing that information really does go a long way. Sometimes we don't have people that even apply, so it does make it a little difficult. But your enthusiasm in that space would really help. When I ran the first time, people were saying, "Can you fix North Avenue?" It's like, well, that's not really my road, but I would like it to be fixed too. But I saw the disconnect, and I think that if we can make it a more powerful connection. So if you have an issue with your road, you can take pictures of it. You can look at the road reporter problem, and you can just scan that QR code. You can report any problem on that website. And so we tell you whose road it is, if it's CDOT's, if it's Grand Junction, City of Grand Junction, if it's our road. You can upload all the photos, and then it'll give you the contact information of the folks that are in charge of these things too. And of course, if there's an issue, let us know, and we'll get the right people on it. So we don't see every pothole, but you guys do, so please send that stuff in. Then we have our Grand Valley Connects also. Some of that paperwork is flying around here, and that's really important. And I think that's where we can connect services, especially if people are experiencing homelessness. If you're a business owner and you don't know where to send maybe an employee or some folks that may be outside of your property, or if you know of anyone, I think it's really important that they have access. Mesa County, we are tasked with implementing federal government programs, also our state. But we have those human services resources, and like Commissioner Fletcher said, we've got the Workforce Center. We've really been trying to make sure that they're not siloed. So if you're coming in and you're needing services for the human department services, so any entitlements, any help, you're not just getting that. You're also getting everything that we offer at the Workforce Center. And I think that you can't have one without the other. And I really believe that if we can get to who you are as a human being, where you're at, and work with our faith-based communities, and just bringing that community together and offer them everything that we can, would be much better off, and it would be easier on our taxpayer dollars for sure. How much time do I have? All day?
All day.
Yeah, all day. All day. I'm sorry, I left my phone up there. Thank you.
It's 12:40.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'm working on right now, of course, I've been working a ton with unfunded mandates, and that is, we've seen some numbers. Cody was saying 700 million. I've seen numbers of 1.5 billion. The thing about it is county governments are the only place where there's any reserves. And that's largely due to, well, fiscal constraints, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. If you have fiscal conservatism, you have reserves. And if you've been saving during the booms when we had ARPA dollars come in and you were being fiscally wise with that funding, and you keep your budget low and you're planning for your worst day, which a lot of counties do, that's the only reserves that the state has. We shouldn't be punished because we were being wise with our money. Because the state had over $3 billion in ARPA funds, and they grew government. They didn't shrink it. They weren't looking for just one-time infrastructure programs. They weren't looking to stabilize for a bad day or a bad season or a downturn in the economy. They weren't doing that. They were growing government to a very unstable place. And now they're paying the price for it. And they're not going to do it on the backs of counties. And so it's just been my mission to make sure that I'm working with every single county commissioner in the state of Colorado to make sure that that doesn't happen on our watch. We were smart with our money, and we're just not going to let unwise people just come in and raid it. And I think the most hopeful message and the belief in consent of the governed, we the people, is it really doesn't have a party in a sense, because I'm working with these Democrat commissioners and they're seeing the same thing, and those principles go over all party lines, and that's exciting. I've been able to work with our Durango commissioners, Zapata, even our Boulder County commissioners, Summit County. I've had counties reach out to me and say, we're sending a letter to the governor and leadership, but could you just not talk about our name? Because we don't want to get punished. We don't want the retribution of standing with Mesa County. And you don't have to stand with me. I'm just impressed you did it. You know, thank you for standing up for yourself. And thank you for standing up for your people who live in your county. And that speaks louder than joining Mesa County. That's not what it's about. This is about standing up for the people in your county. So it's been just an honor to have over 50 counties join us. When you only have 65 counties, 64 counties, that means a lot. You know, I think that speaks volumes. Also, I'm spending a lot of time working on water. It's been really fascinating to study it, to see the history, to know whenever we've given an inch, Denver and the lower basin states take a mile or more. And I know where my line in the sand is, and we are not giving up one tiny centimeter. We are fighting hard to make sure that our water stays here in the western slope waters for western slope. And we're not giving an inch. And we're not gonna sell out. There's so many different angles to this Shoshone water rights, and it's being used for leverage at the federal level. It's being used for leverage at the state level. It's being used in the compact management plan that's being talked about right now. And what I'm not seeing is a lot of leadership in higher positions fighting the way I think they should. And so it's on me to say, I know what's best for the Western Slope. And I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure we keep our water here. And I'm not selling out. I'm not selling out for our future. My kids are not gonna pay the price because we had a little compromise here. It's not gonna happen on my watch, and I will do everything that I can to make sure that Western Slope water stays here, and we get to have the benefit for that. And that's the right thing to do. And I'm gonna fight like I wanna see those fighters fighting for that water. So anyways, thank you guys. If you have any questions, we're happy to take some. Do we have a few minutes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Yes, Linda?
It's sort of a question, but when you mentioned getting on the board, so I'd like to talk a little bit more about that, but I'd like to break on you a little bit before we do that if I can. I'm very interested in the library trustee board and that management here in Mesa County. And our own associate member, Cliff Anson, got on that board, appointed by these three people, and took the brutality for all of us to start finding out what was going on there and expose what was happening on our board. These folks are members of the American Library Association, which is just like the National Education Association. The same policies all the way there. Their directors are transgender and LGBTQ. They have a library bill of rights. One of the things that's included in there is education. Their goal is to indoctrinate the public about the wonders of, elevate the LGBT community and those kinds of principles. They're anti-capitalism. They're communistic, DEI, just maps, and they put out those policies, and our library has been using those as their basis for the things that they have done for their programs and things for years. And these three have the guts to go against the big lobby groups that was trying to make sure that they kept the library board to be very woke. And they have put three Proverbs 31 women who are educated and capable and working hard for us on that library board of trustees of 7 people. There's another thing that comes up, I think, next year.
2.
And whenever, if you would help us know, they need more people in here, so the board members would really like to have somebody with legal experience on there too. And so if you have experience anywhere in the library field and you are willing to serve on that board, it's a lot of work. You know, probably know Lisa Fry.
Katie Vanderbilt.
And if you know them, you're asking me about what the job is like. But it's pretty brutal, but we have a conservative presence on that board now because these three people have the guts to put them on there. And I thank them for that, and I ask them to talk to you about how to do it.
as you said, a lot of our volunteer boards are, you don't get paid and it's a lot of work. And you're reading a lot, you're putting in a lot of time and effort, then, asking questions and then working with the public, working through bylaws. I mean, it is intensive, but so needed. And this is why being connected is so important, because anytime we do postings about our volunteer boards, we need folks to apply to these. And if you can't do it yourself, again, just knowing someone that can do it. There's oftentimes I've called an Audrey, I'm like, hey, do you know anyone that can do this? And she's been so gracious. And Cliff, thank you for serving. And so I know it's a lot of time oftentimes, and we're all busy, but these things are really, really important. We will have some upcoming openings on that board, so we'll have 2 openings this year. And again, there's times where we get resignations and we have to pivot and interview and open that up to the public. So we count on your feedback and we also count on your service in more ways than one.
Could you please describe the interaction between these volunteer boards and the county commissioners and the decisions they make?
Yeah, so each one's a little different. So they each have their own bylaws and their governance structure. Some boards, we do give financially to some boards. So the Museum of the West, there is some historical history of it. First, it was a county department. It moved away from being a county department. And we have given them financial support in different ways. And so we do have a commissioner that sits on that board. And so there's some, like the library board, where all the commissioners by statute, we just, all we do is appoint. And so they have their own tax base where they gather their own mill levy, they have their own tax base, so the financial aspect of it doesn't cross over. And we don't make any decisions for that board. The board completely is independent. So there's some finesse in some of these boards. They're not always a board we can control. That's not usually the case in that, but some of them we do serve. Between all of us, I think there's probably, I'm on like 8 or 9, Cody's on a bunch, and so is Commissioner Fletcher. So I didn't realize that I'd be serving as Mesa County Commissioner and then 9 other boards. So that's a little different. But I think something that we do is, are we following the bylaws? Is this public? How is the public engaging? Are these tax dollars? What's the expectation for the public for those tax dollars? Are these open meetings? How can we help these boards get their ducks in a row if they need it? And so we just want to make sure that we're following the law, it's transparent and open to the public, and every board member knows their expectations too. I think that's really helpful as well. Do you guys have anything to add to that?
I think you nailed it.
Maybe just add on about the Public Health Board.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Right, yeah, so, over the past few years, there's been some position changes at the executive director level. We currently are not involved, we're not members of the board with the Board of Public Health. We are here simply as advisory role. We have interaction, but we don't make any decisions. They have their own autonomy. They're looking to appoint an executive director. They're working on that right now, and a director of medical, is that correct? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I know a lot of people think that we appoint the Board of Health, we do not.
Well, sorry.
Let's say we do appoint the Board of Health. And
yeah, the board member.
the executive director, correct. And the only connection between some of these boards and the voter is the commissioner's power to appoint or remove. And that's the library board. The only power we have over the library is the power to appoint or remove. The Board of Health is to appoint or remove. Now, we do have an intergovernmental agreement with the Board of Health. The Board of Health is complex because they used to be a county department. And then the state legislature said, we don't want commissioners meddling in health, so we want to make them their own board. And then but then the commissioners made themselves the board. And then they came back and they said, okay, only one commissioner can serve on the Board of Health. So they've made it complicated for the commissioners to have any fiscal oversight. And through COVID, there was very little connection between a Board of Health and the community. And you saw them take more control and take more action during COVID than most of you probably ever would wish for. And so having the commissioners with the ability to appoint and remove is still a good and valid role of the county commissioners. It gets messy, gets complex. I've been through it with the Board of Health. The library board got messy and complex this year. We've got 2 appointments coming up in January. It's going to get messy and complex again. So your support, your help, put your name in. Yeah.
Just a quick nuance with that. The Board of Health, which we appoint, they pick the executive director. They do have to have a public or a medical director that oversees. You don't have to be the executive director of public health and have a doctor license. They can be 2 separate people that have different qualifications. What we have done to make sure that there's still fiscal responsibility is we've implemented a whole new financial software program called Workday. And this will allow so much more transparency. So often it was separate county departments kind of doing their accounting, and it was just really hard to see and have some sustainability, but also that visibility in all of our county departments. And so with this Workday program, we'll be able to have a great overview of everything that's going on in the county. We've been able to efficiently move purchasing and to have some guardrails on that, and P-card purchases, that'll have a lot more guardrails on that as well. And then that visibility, if you are the Board of Health, again, you're just a volunteer. I think some people don't realize how much time this is going to take out of your lives. And so we want to make sure that you have the confidence, if you're looking at the books, that you're really seeing the books. And we want to give any board member that confidence and visibility. So that's really important. That's a significant change that we've invested in across all of our county departments. And we think that that's going to be really amazing in the long run, to be able to have that high level visibility for anybody to be able to come and look at that. And it's tough. Public health really does rely on a lot of federal grants and state grants, and minimally they rely on the county for support financially. And we want to make sure those grants are going towards those programs. And when that grant ends, your financial life is going to look a lot different. And we want to make sure that government just isn't growing, that we can kind of come back from some of those things and make it very visible for anybody to make those decisions, especially the Board of Health can have that visibility and know exactly what's going on, have that confidence. So, Andrea, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to give everybody some perspective, especially with all the public comment that came out for the commissioners with the library board. Don't let that deter you guys from serving on these boards and commissions. I mean, I know that Lisa Fry and Roxanne were, kind of thrown through the paper, but obviously we were over the target because you guys picked good people for those positions. This is a small contingency in our community that likes to make a lot of noise. Mm-hmm. The majority of the community supported this, and they support people like Melinda said to be on these boards. And I just commend our commissioners for standing strong, even in the scrutiny of being in the paper, which again, not a lot of people in this community read the daily cycle. So just keep in mind, guys, take a step back and have some perspective that while it gets loud, that is not the majority of our community. So please step up and please serve on these, because I know I've been in the fire, they've been in the fire, but it's a small loud contingency. It's not what the majority of our community wants. That's good. So please be bold.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about mental health. What is happening possibly in this about anything related to our mental health and any services that are coming about or can be available?
That's a great question. The state historically has not done well in this area. I think this has not been a priority of this administration at all, and I don't think it has been in the past. And some of their agencies, the state agencies, haven't been well run. Probably too much attention on CPW. I don't know, my two take, but just hasn't been a thing. They're too worried about wolves to deal with some really important issues. So at a state level, that's kind of where I'm seeing that, a lot of the funding. Mental health is very expensive when it's operating from a state perspective. I do think that the free market is going to be able to handle this so much more efficiently than any government program will ever do. And this is also where our faith community is going to really shine and step in to see this for the whole person. I think that that's really powerful. I know Medicaid has been run roughshod with this administration, and the most vulnerable among us who truly do need services are really what's going to take the haircut in the long run, and that's sad to me. Again, I would not be operating this kind of state if I were in charge. I would be really trying to take care of the most vulnerable and using our dollars wisely that's sustainable. And this administration has not done anything of the sort. It's made it more expensive for mental health. He's made homes more expensive. In every area that he touches and government touches, they almost make it worse. So read a book. It's called Economics 101. I mean, it's not that hard. The free market can come in and fix a ton of these problems. And I think that's what conservatives are really good at. And I'm hoping this governor's race really shakes this state up and sees we want a future that doesn't look like this. We want homes to be affordable. We want our most vulnerable to be taken care of. We're sick of this dog and pony show, and what they're left with is bankruptcy. And that's not what anyone wants. That's not what a Democrat wants. It's not what an independent wants. And that's not what Republicans want. We have to have fiscal sanity to take care of our most vulnerable. Here locally, we're doing a lot, and that's our Grand Valley Connects. Please connect with them. They will point you in the right direction. It may not be a government program, but we'll try and get you something. Yes.
We have to change the subject a bit.
Yes, sir.
You brought up the governor. I'm a delegate to the state assembly.
Yes,
I'd like to hear from each of you, which governor of, how many do we have? 8 candidates that you would consider endorsing? 21, sorry.
There comes a Nova with the mic drop.
Seriously, I'd like
Yes.
the insight that you have about these various candidates, and if you have a favorite one, I'd like to hear about it.
Yeah, I think it's a really important choice that we have coming up as Republicans. Who do we want to represent us? Who has the vision, who has experience to know where the light switch is on day one? I think that's important. I mean, I know that I didn't serve in public office, and day one, it's, yes, you have to figure out where the light switch is and where the bathroom is, but you also need to know who does what and how to do it. And I'm a quick study. I've been learning how to do this job for 2 years and campaigning for 2 years. And I had a great community to help me. And I think I'm looking for some of that day one experience and vision. So you have to have 3 things. You have to have money, you have to have message, and you have to have manpower. And if you don't have one leg of that stool, it's not gonna work. And so it's something that I'm looking at is all 3 of those and where the light switch is. And if you don't have money, you're just not going to be competitive in this state, and you're not going to be able to get your message out. You're not going to be able to capitalize on that manpower. So I know I'm still looking kind of where we are, and I know everybody kind of has their favorites for sure. But I'm not looking for a single subject single issue person. This state has a lot of problems. I need mental health fixed. I need lower taxes. I need our planning standards to come down. I mean, this is insane that we're just talking about all electrification. That policy is going to make sure we're all equally miserable. And I don't want that, and how do you communicate that? So I'm still looking. We have met with quite a few folks, and I think everybody has an impression of some folks. Some had great stories, but could not talk policy with me. And that, you might have all the charisma in the world, and you might have a ton of followers on social media, but like, if you don't know what you're gonna do when you get in office, you're not inspiring me. So I think it's gonna be really difficult for this race, but God has it, and He has a plan, and He's making a way. You know, it took quite a while to get out of Egypt, and it still took quite a while to get out of the desert. So I'm focused on Him. I'm focused on what He's calling us to do. I'm not putting my hope in a person. I'm putting my hope in Him. And I know that our God is greater than whatever we're facing right now. And I'm going to be obedient and to what He wants Mesa County to do, what He wants our commission to do. And we're going to have discernment and wisdom and ask for that.